The rain hammered against the pavement like 1,000 tiny drums. Sarah Mitchell, 24, pedaled her rusted bicycle through the storm, her delivery bag strapped tightly across her chest. Water streamed down her face, mixing with tears she'd been holding back all day. Her phone buzzed with another notification. Order narrate for 7, Penthouse Suite, Grandview Towers, customer waiting. Sarah glanced at the address and her heart sank. The Grandview Towers, the most luxurious apartment complex in the city. The kind of place where doormen wore suits nicer than anything she owned. She was already 30 minutes late. Her bicycle chain had broken twice today, and her last delivery had taken her to the wrong address because her phone's GPS kept glitching on her cracked screen. "Please just let this one go smoothly," she whispered to herself. Sarah arrived at the gleaming glass building, completely drenched. Her cheap raincoat had torn at the shoulder, and her worn sneakers squeaked with every step. She tried to enter through the main entrance, but the doorman immediately stepped in front of her. "Delivery entrance is around back," he said coldly, eyeing her muddy shoes with disgust. "I'm sorry, I just need to get to the penthouse quickly. The customer—" "Around back," he pointed firmly. Sarah's shoulders slumped. She walked around the massive building in the pouring rain, finally finding the service entrance. The elevator reserved for deliveries was old and slow, nothing like the pristine ones in the lobby. When she finally reached the penthouse floor, she was 45 minutes late. Her hands trembled as she knocked on the door of Suite 4501. The door swung open, and a woman in her 50s stood there, dripping with diamonds and disdain. Mrs. Catherine Westbrook, dressed in a designer dress that probably cost more than Sarah's yearly rent. "You're late," Catherine shrieked. "Do you have any idea who I am? I ordered this food over an hour ago." "I'm so sorry, ma'am. My bicycle broke down in the rain." "I don't care about your excuses. Look at you. You're dripping all over my marble floors. These floors cost more than you make in a year." Sarah stepped back instinctively, trying not to drip. "I'm really sorry. Here's your order. It should still be warm." Catherine snatched the bag and opened it. "This is cold, cold. I asked for extra sauce, and there's barely any. Are you incompetent?" "Ma'am, I delivered exactly what the restaurant gave me. I don't pack the food, I just—" "Don't talk back to me." Catherine's voice rose to a screech. She grabbed Sarah's arm roughly and pushed her backward. "Get out of my sight. You're useless, completely useless." Sarah stumbled, her back hitting the hallway wall hard. Pain shot through her shoulder blade, the same shoulder she'd injured last week, when she fell off her bike avoiding a car. "Don't push me." Sarah's voice cracked, tears finally spilling over. "I'm already hurt." The words came out as barely a whisper, but they carried the weight of everything. Her injured shoulder, her empty bank account, the medical bills she couldn't pay for her sick mother, the 3 jobs she worked just to survive, the 20 rejections she'd gotten from real jobs because she didn't have a college degree. Catherine's face twisted with more anger. "Hurt? You don't know what hurt is. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. I'm calling your manager right now." What neither of them noticed was the man standing in the shadows of the hallway, having just exited the stairwell. He'd been about to enter his own penthouse across the hall when the confrontation began. James Hartford, 52, was worth $847 million, but nobody in this building knew that. He'd moved into Grandview Towers 6 months ago under an alias James Hart's, specifically to escape the constant attention and fake friendships that came with his wealth. He wore simple jeans and a plain black t-shirt. He'd been at the building's gym, which is why he'd taken the stairs, and he'd heard everything. James watched as Sarah slumped against the wall, one hand clutching her shoulder, tears streaming down her face. He watched as Catherine disappeared into her penthouse, still yelling threats about calling corporate and getting Sarah fired. He watched as Sarah slowly gathered herself, wiped her tears with her wet sleeve, and limped toward the service elevator. Something inside James broke. "Excuse me," James called out softly. Sarah turned, startled. "I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I didn't mean to cause a disturbance." "You didn't cause anything." James walked closer, his face kind. "Are you okay? That looked like a hard push." Sarah tried to smile, but it came out as a grimace. "I'm fine. I need to go before she calls my manager." "What's your name?" Sarah Mitchell." "Sarah, I'm James. I live across the hall. I saw everything." He paused. "How badly does your shoulder hurt?" Fresh tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "It's an old injury. I fell off my bike last week, and I couldn't afford to see a doctor. It was getting better, but—" She touched her shoulder gingerly. That push didn't help. James felt anger rising in his chest. "Come with me." "What? No, I can't. I have 3 more deliveries, and if I'm any later—" "How much do you make per delivery?" Sarah blinked, confused by the question. About $7 plus tips, but I rarely get tips." James pulled out his phone and made a call. "David, it's James Hartford." "Yes, that James Hartford. I need you to send a doctor to Grandview Towers immediately. Penthouse 4502. And David, bring a lawyer too. Yes, I'm serious." Sarah's eyes widened. "James Hartford? The James Hartford? The tech billionaire?" James smiled slightly. "I prefer the guy who lives across from horrible people. Come on, let's get you somewhere warm and dry." "I can't. My manager will fire me if I don't complete these deliveries." "What's your manager's name?" "Mr. Ramirez. He manages the downtown branch of Quick Eats." James made another call while gently guiding Sarah toward his penthouse. "Yes, I need the owner of Quick Eats delivery service. No, I don't care what time it is. Tell them James Hartford needs to speak with them immediately." "Yes, I'll wait." Sarah stood frozen in the hallway as James unlocked his door. His penthouse was simple, minimalist, nothing like Catherine's ostentatious display of wealth next door. "Hello, yes, this is James Hartford. I have one of your delivery drivers here, Sarah Mitchell. She's been injured on the job due to a customer's assault, and she's worried about being fired for not completing her remaining deliveries tonight." "I see. Yes, I think that's wise. I'll be expecting your call tomorrow." He hung up and turned to Sarah. "Your remaining deliveries have been reassigned. You're off the clock with pay." "I don't understand. Why are you doing this?" James gestured for her to sit on his couch. He brought her a warm towel and a blanket. 28 years ago, I was exactly where you are," James said quietly. "I was delivering pizzas, working 3 jobs, trying to support my sick mother. One night, I delivered to a mansion in the hills. The woman who answered the door screamed at me because the pizza was cold. It wasn't, but she claimed it was. She threw it in my face, actually threw hot pizza in my face, and slammed the door." Sarah gasped. "I stood on that doorstep, burned and humiliated, and I wanted to give up. But then her neighbor, an older gentleman, came out. He'd seen everything. His name was Richard Chen. He brought me inside, treated my burns, and asked me about my life. When I told him I'd been trying to build a tech startup but couldn't afford to keep going, he wrote me a check for $50,000. Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks. Richard told me, "The world needs more people who understand what it's like to struggle. Don't let cruel people make you cruel. Let them make you kind." That $50,000 became the seed money for Hartford Technologies. Richard died 10 years ago, but not a day goes by that I don't think about what he did for me. There was a knock at the door. James let in a doctor and a lawyer, both looking slightly disheveled from being called out in the storm. Dr. Patricia Anderson examined Sarah's shoulder carefully. "You have a partially torn rotator cuff. This needs immediate treatment. If you'd waited much longer, you might have needed surgery. Why didn't you see a doctor when it first happened?" Sarah looked down. "I don't have insurance. I couldn't afford it." "How much are your medical bills for your mother?" James asked gently. Sarah's voice was barely audible. $47,000. She has stage 3 cancer. We're on a payment plan, but I'm already 3 months behind. James turned to his lawyer. "Marcus, I need you to pay off all of Sarah's mother's medical bills immediately and set up a medical trust fund for her mother's ongoing treatment." "James, no, I can't accept," Sarah started. "You're not accepting charity. You're accepting what's right." James's voice was firm but kind. "That woman next door assaulted you. She injured you. She threatened your livelihood. And I'm willing to bet this isn't the first time someone has treated you this way." Sarah closed her eyes and the tears came harder. "3 times this week. 3 times I've been yelled at, pushed, had food thrown at me. Last month someone spit on me because their order was wrong, and it wasn't even wrong. They just read their own order incorrectly." James stood up, his jaw set. "Marcus, I also need you to file an assault charge against Catherine Westbrook. And I want to buy this building." Everyone in the room froze. "Buy the building?" Marcus repeated. "Buy the building. I've been looking for a good investment property anyway. Grandview Towers is worth what? About $200 million? Closer to $250 million, sir." "Fine, buy it. Tonight. I don't care what it costs. And the first thing I'm going to do as the new owner is evict Catherine Westbrook." Sarah's eyes went wide. "You're going to buy an entire building just to evict her?" "No," James said, a slight smile on his face. "I'm going to buy this building to change it. Do you know what this building's policy is for delivery workers? They have to use the service entrance. They're not allowed in the main lobby, as if they're somehow less human than the residents. That changes tomorrow." He turned to Marcus. "I want new rules. All delivery workers, maintenance staff, anyone who works in or for this building gets treated with the same respect as residents. Anyone who verbally or physically abuses staff will be evicted immediately, no exceptions. Install a break room with free food and drinks for all delivery workers, and I want to set up a scholarship, fund $1 million a year for service workers who want to go to college or trade school." Dr. Anderson finished bandaging Sarah's shoulder. "You'll need physical therapy for 6 weeks. I'm going to write you a prescription and set up appointments." "I can't afford—" "All covered," James interrupted. "Dr. Anderson, send all bills directly to me." Sarah sat there, overwhelmed. "I don't know what to say. This is too much. You don't even know me." "I know enough," James said. "I know you work 3 jobs to support your mother. I know you were injured and kept working because you had no choice. I know that despite being pushed, yelled at, and treated like you're invisible, you still apologize to that woman. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are." He sat down across from her. "Sarah, what did you want to be? Before life got in the way, what was your dream?" Sarah's voice was small. "I wanted to be a social worker. I wanted to help people who are struggling like me, like my mom, people who fall through the cracks." "You still can." "I dropped out of college after 1 year. I couldn't afford it." "What if I told you I'm starting a new foundation, the Richard Chen Foundation for Service Workers? It's going to provide scholarships, job training, medical assistance, and legal support for people in service industries, delivery drivers, retail workers, restaurant staff, anyone who keeps our world running but gets treated as less than human." Sarah stared at him, afraid to hope. "I need someone to run it, someone who understands what these people face because they've lived it. The position pays $85,000 a year, full benefits, and includes a scholarship for you to complete your degree. Are you interested?" Sarah couldn't speak. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face. The next morning, Catherine Westbrook received a letter slipped under her door. It was an eviction notice. She stormed into the hallway, still in her designer robe, screaming, "This is illegal! You can't evict me! I've lived here for 8 years! I know the owner!" James opened his door, coffee in hand. "The owner sold the building last night. I'm the new owner, and you're right. I normally can't evict you without cause. But you assaulted someone on my property. I have video footage from the hallway cameras. You also violated several clauses in your lease agreement about harassment and threatening behavior." Catherine's face went pale. You bought this building?" "For $275 million, yes. You have 30 days to vacate." "Do you know who my husband is? He's a lawyer. He'll sue you for everything you're worth." James smiled. "I'm worth about $847 million. Tell your husband he's welcome to try." Catherine's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Behind James, Sarah emerged, her arm in a professional sling, wearing clean clothes that actually fit. "You," Catherine hissed. "You did this, you manipulative little—" "Careful," James said, his voice ice cold. "That's the director of my new foundation you're talking about. And given that I've also filed assault charges against you, I'd suggest you choose your next words very carefully." The Richard Chen Foundation's opening gala was held at Grandview Towers. The building had been transformed. The lobby now had a large screen displaying photos and names of community heroes, delivery drivers, janitors, maintenance workers who went above and beyond. Sarah stood at the podium in a beautiful but simple dress, her mother beside her in a wheelchair, looking healthier after months of proper treatment. 6 months ago, I was a delivery driver who couldn't afford to see a doctor for an injury. I was pushed, insulted, and made to feel invisible. But one person saw me. One person remembered what it was like to struggle, and he chose kindness over indifference. She looked at James, who sat in the front row, smiling. The Richard Chen Foundation has already helped 237 service workers. We've paid medical bills, funded education, provided legal assistance, and created a support network. But more than that, we've reminded people that everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves to be seen. The room erupted in applause. Later, at the reception, a young delivery driver approached James nervously. Mr. Hartford, I just wanted to thank you. Your foundation paid for my mom's surgery. She's going to be okay because of you." James shook his hand warmly. "I'm glad we could help. What's your name?" "Michael, sir." "Tell me, Michael, what do you dream about doing? If money wasn't an issue, what would you want to be?" As Michael began to talk about his dream of becoming an EMT, James listened intently, just as Richard Chen had listened to him all those years ago. Sarah watched from across the room, understanding now what Richard Chen had taught James and what James was now teaching her. Kindness isn't just about helping people, it's about seeing them, really seeing them. And sometimes in the darkest moments when someone says, "Don't push me, I'm already hurt," that's when kindness matters most. In memory of every service worker who has been pushed, insulted, or made to feel invisible, you are seen, you matter, and your kindness in the face of cruelty makes you the real heroes of this world.